All right, what's up? We got YouTube live. We've got do we have YouTube live? Let's see. Let's get some audio going. Excellent. All right. Well, this will be the first week I don't have audio issues because I am solo. Don't have to worry about yeah, worry about managing multiple different situations. So let's open source ready live. It's just me today. John's actually traveling for the week. And I'm just gonna check real quick if I am up on the home page. Yes, I am. I'm not on the home page. How do I There we go live there. Oop. Let's see. That's wild. March 19th, 11 a.m. Let me see if I could. I'll need to fix that real quick. Or maybe actually I am live. Ah, that's weird. Am I on the BDuggy stream? Actually, some people are watching from YouTube, so you let me know in chat where you're watching from, and then I'll debug this. Welcome to the show. Open source ready live. How do I see what happened. I'm gonna have to stop the stream and switch it over. Let's see. Do, do, do. Sorry, folks. I will have to swap it over. Why is that? Unless go to manage videos, YouTube Studio Live. Where's the live button? It is not without its challenges. How do you get to the YouTube Live? Go live. There we go. Oh, that is interesting. Sorry about this, folks. Just gonna try to figure out how to go live. Sorry, I'm gonna have to send an email real quick. How do I share the link that I'm actually on? That's wild. Oop. Oh, there it is. Get shareable link. Oop. That is the same link. All right, cool. Well, we'll just keep it rolling. That is wild. So wild. Anyway, I've got a couple links that I'll be running through. All right. So let us go through some links, and then I'm gonna try out the Minimax thing today as well. New model dropped, and I feel as if it will be worth using. So let's see. Just gonna head prepare. Got it. Cool. And then let me find the Minimax 2.7 link, and then I'll share my screen real quick after I find this stuff. All right. Cool. Share screen. Alright. Yeah, so normally actually, I used to stream by myself for the longest time, and, that stopped when I started a company because then I just did not have the time for it, and then I convinced John to stream with me. How do I change my, let's hide that real quick. Oh, dang, sorry about that. I've been sitting here I wonder how my how I got muted. That's wild. I've been talking about this whole time, and I've been on mute. So thanks, Noah, for alerting me of that. Man, wild, wild times. Well, I guess what you missed before was I was talking about Open Source Ready is our podcast. I just want to basically just let people know we have a podcast that you can subscribe to. It's on the Heavy Bit Network. Check it out. And then I'll just reiterate the Klein story, which is my read. So yeah, there's a live stream I normally do with John McBride. So if I had a person I was talking to, he would have told me I was muted the entire time. But yeah, here we are. As the wild part is I did a test as well to check my audio, and the audio was working. I have no idea what happened and how I got muted, but I do appreciate you sitting in the chat and alerting me of this. Cool. So we do reads. So our podcast, we usually have a guest and then we do reads at the end. The way we do the live stream is we do reads first and then we do a demo later. It's really just for us to essentially, we've been reading stuff through the week. We catch up. John and I catch up multiple times throughout the week. Um, but yeah, that's where I'm at. So back to the read. The read itself is Klein had a vulnerability that got shipped. They shipped OpenClaw specifically uh, into a release. It lasted about 6 hours before anything could, I guess, could happen. But the idea there is in the post install script, it installs OpenClaw. And then the way it was sort of set up, so like this is a multifaceted approach where they were able to um, like, within the harness, which was Klein is a harness, agent harness, it's got a CLI similar to Claude Code. It can actually directly, through issue titles, uh, control your Claude directly. So, um, yeah, it's just basically it's, like, super clever. I'm not sure I guess it looks like that it was 8 hours, had 4,000 installs. Doesn't sound like that anything was able to happen, and the other thing to mention is, like, OpenClaw is a great software. Like, obviously, there's some weird stuff and things you have to consider with the security, but really good software. OpenClaw is not the problem. The problem is that um, open source is going to have a lot more of these vulnerabilities. So, yeah, I wish I had John to give me some other feedback on this, but or give his take on this. But if you're in the chat, feel free to like add your commentary on this as well. That'd be super helpful, and I can react to that. But what I was getting at is like at Continue, we had a very similarly shaped product where ID first, but then also built a CLI as well. And the way it's working is like a lot of these companies like Cursor has a CLI. I would imagine like who's the other one that's down in Silicon Valley? Augment CLI. Like, everyone's got a CLI, basically. Oh, actually, maybe Augment oh, Augie. So, the reason for the CLI is because like, the way you see the adoption of Claude Code, like, it's been a pretty strong ramp up. And the value there is that you can leverage the harness, which is your CLI, to basically have full control and interactions through either MCP or other CLIs as well. So, for that reason, like OpenClaw, great software, but it does open you up to a bunch of things you got to think about when you're starting to leverage these tools. So, for example, Klein, if you for those 8 hours that maybe if you got the latest release and you're working, you could have been at risk of someone opening an issue that said like drop DB. I don't know if you could actually. Yeah, actually, it would have been a bash command, so it couldn't even be drop DB. It'd be like maybe read. Actually, you could open up issue. So if I open an issue on continue, and I'll just like map this out. Let me you can't do blank issues. Amazing. But if I was just like, um, what would I do? Basically GH issue list and um, this is kind of how I do my quad code on the command line, read all issues and identify the roadmap of the repo, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, I guess there's a lot of like this probably wouldn't matter because I think if you did GH issue list, you'd probably be listing the issues you only have access to in your CLI. So it had to be a little bit more sophisticated. But I guess what I'm getting at is like there was a vulnerability. It was interesting. It was caught, but now we've got like a multifaceted approach of like security and open source that we are now really just like we're gonna be stuck into like trying to understand um how do we approach this. Like this is yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be wild times the next, like, 6 to 12 months of, like, what are we doing with open source? Speaking of which, my next read is the OpenAI team just announced they acquired this company called Astral. And if you, like, written any Python, and of course, they've, like, probably tweeted up a bunch. How do I find the Astral announcement? It's probably here. There we go. Oh, they have a newsroom, apparently. Got it. So yeah, Astral.sh is joining OpenAI. What does that mean? Wild times, and I just realized my camera was off too as well. But yeah, wild times. Um, I actually met Charlie Marsh. So Charlie is. I'll get into where this is going, but I used to run this company called Open Sauce. And Open Sauce, specifically opensauce.com/blog. Like open source itself is a the product itself has been sunset. We've like moved it on to the Linux Foundation, who is our acquirer, which is linked up here. But open source itself, it basically took a bunch of open source data and then identified trends in analytics and like a bunch of data science. And I mentioned this because Charlie Marshall was actually it was really interesting when we finally got the product together and it worked. And you can see top contributors across all open source. In February of 2022, Charlie was the number one contributor of all of open source, and it actually aligned at the same time that he was fundraising for Astral. So at the time, I just knew him as he was doing Rough at the time. I didn't even know what UV was, but I knew what Rough was. Um, and it was interesting to like see that data and then like discover Charlie just through the open source data because I ended up meeting Charlie a couple months later when he announced his fundraise with Excel. Or right before, maybe it wasn't right after the fundraise announcement. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But what I'm getting at is like now Charlie is joining OpenAI, specifically the Codex team. And just recently, Anthropic is also acquired Bun, which was announced, what was that, December? Um, acquires Bun and code reaches $1 billion milestone. I guess that's a run rate. So yeah, Bun started in 2021, specifically to build a faster JavaScript runtime. So Bun, and just as basically based on Jared's tweets, Bun was acquired with $0 in revenue. I don't know if Astro actually had a product that was making revenue. Um, Next gen Python tooling. It'd be great to yeah, so, like, their product itself is an open source project. Rough is open source project. I don't know what Pi is. Never used that, but PyX, native package registry. Yeah, so they're building tooling for Python. It looks like mostly they were just building the tooling, not specifically it's funny, this is the GraphQL co-creator. Yeah, it doesn't seem like they actually had a product in market, which is fine, like, that's not a judgment against them, but I guess what I'm getting at is we're in a weird space where there's a bit of an arms race in the AI coding space. And like a couple weeks ago, John and I did the stream and I kind of showed actually this was one of our reads of one of the podcasts that we just had that went live, where the majority of actually this podcast did not go live, but I'll mention the read. When you think about the AI adoption, applied AI space, like over 50% of all successful use cases are basically coding. I think number 2, which is like a fast, like 11% or like maybe around that point, is legal, and then finance. So, like, when you think of like applied AI situations that have products in market, it's all coding right now. So you now have Anthropic, who's already doubled down with Claude Sonnet last year, being the premier coding model with the agentic flow. Like this, it just blew up the entire industry. This is why Klein, who I was talking about before, why Continue, who I was also just recently employed at. Um, it's like how they sort of built their entire businesses around the Claude model specifically, which is so good. Obviously, Gemini and the other one, OpenAI, also has our GPT has like pretty decent models for coding, but like Claude was the sort of market leader. They were the first to sort of acquire, which is Bun, to build a faster runtime, to have stuff compile much faster. And now you're seeing the same thing. The same thing specifically happening for OpenAI and Astral. So, a lot of speculation today on Twitter and like what's happening and why. I actually just recently just saw the one of the maintainers of Void Zero and Veet. Um, oh, I actually replied to him specifically. He mentioned Anthropic's Dropper bought the Bun team to fix Claude Code. OpenAI bought the Astral team to fix Codex. There's no third AI company to buy us. And then my knowledge of so Void Zero is where Botion, I guess. Actually, I don't know. I don't know Botion personally, but I know they're built on Cloudflare. So my thought is like probably Cloudflare eyeing the prize now and trying to figure out like what's the next step for them. But yeah, interesting times. Who knows what's next? But I think Astral is like I wouldn't consider Astral and Bun being similar products. With Bun being focused on the runtime and also having build tooling and everything like that, and Astral having build tooling, but really focused on just like next. Actually, UV is kind of Bun like. Um, Let me ask Claude. Is Astral and UV are the same to what is the Bun and Bun? We'll see. If it goes off the rails, I'm going to close this tab. Not exactly. The analogy here is that UV is to Python, Bun is to JavaScript. Yes, that's what I was asking. Yeah, so not really the one-to-one crazy. Like you've UV specifically is like not replacing pip, but it's a way closer. Package manager Bun, yes. Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, so Bun, I still think of Bun as the runtime because the first thing I saw a pitch on, and that's kind of what I use Bun for the majority of the situation. So, but yeah, that's the read there. The other thing I'll mention is, which I'll mention one other thing, which I did. Let me actually switch to this slideshow. Um, I want to share this slideshow because I want to actually create a video on this, but I need to make this available with link. Cool, copy link. And then so I gave this talk. Actually, I shared this last night, and I also shared this last week in the last week stream. So and this was actually my demo. And then I got invited to do a presentation last night at the WorkOS event. I think Microsoft was actually the host, but I'll quickly run through this story because I'll make a video on this, but I'll share this now because I've like the method of like building this Pokemon agent experience. It's been a lot of fun, but also like there's a method to why. So like this is gonna like summarize all the work I've done. I'll speed run through this because I do want to get into the Minimax 2.7 stuff. Um, and then we'll go from there. But like what I want to see basically, I sought out to basically if I could play Pokemon headless, um, and like validate all the stuff I've been learning in the AI coding space because I think there's a bit of a problem right now with the space where everything is coding heavy. So all solutions are centralized around code. Obviously, you've got the Harveys and the Lagoras, like with the legal stuff, and you got like Excel spreadsheets powered by AI. Like we need more of those. You also have like granola and stuff like that. But what I'm getting at is like I wanted to like see if those principles of self-healing infrastructure could also be applied to like a non-AI space, which is speed running Pokemon. I did want to mention also like shout out to the Claude team. I got my account unsuspended, but when I did all this work, I actually got my account suspended because of rate limiting. But the goal was specifically, can I speed run Pokemon? So that was it. The way I've sort of scoped this out, and I have slides because like last week I didn't have slides. I sort of just talked through the GitHub repo. But 1,000 turns. Let me speed run Pokemon. There we go. I should probably write a Dev 2 post on this as well. I'll probably do that tomorrow. Kind of organize my thoughts in a way that's like could be quickly grokked. But I think what I'm getting at is like I went down the path of like get the age at the speed run to basically pick your Pokemon. And the goal was no web searches. So I can't just like go to the Pokemon guide online and like unblock myself because I think one, it's harder to speed run when you're waiting for web searches. But two, I wanted to make it self healing. So it's learning based on past experiences, not based on experiences of outsiders. So like that was a very important footnote for this. And the way I did this is like every time I did 1,000 turns, I'd basically collect those sessions and then log that to a Pokedex folder and to Markdown. So it looks like this. And I'll drop the link in the chat as well if folks want to take a look at the presentation. It'll get spammed to all the places I'm live right now. But yeah, so like the logs looks like this. It's just human readable, essentially. Like this is what happened, this is what got set up. Um, a lot of times I get blocked on things like not being able to enter doors after 8-second cooldowns, like, just, like, very similar, um, things. But, like, skipping down, this is all built inside of Asteria's VM. Yeah, agent was slowly learning, but it would, like, take the steps and then log that, and then the next time, it essentially would get unblocked. So the way I ended up sort of and this is all, like, written into my readmes as well for the Pokemon repo if you're interested. But it was observational memory. So observational memory specifically came out of the Mastral team. There's like it's kinda crazy because everything that I'm showing here, everyone else is also figuring out at the same time, but they might be called something different, but I thought the observational memory was a good term for what this is. And basically what it is like take your telemetry from every one of those 1,000 run turns, and then log that into the Pokédex, but then anything important, put in the observations. So, like, you have a long list of things that you're sort of figuring out, but take that one line sentence from that log and make that an observation line. So, just like your HMD, just like your Quad MD, that's how I sort of worked it out. And this is like the sort of the architecture of this. So tapes is the thing that we've been working on in the open source world. Tapes is this SQLite. It's log sessions that you are it's hashable and searchable. But something that's even faster is Markdown. So be able to have some context to be grok quickly. And then the other thing that I've mentioned is like the state observer is basically being able to have a hash lookup for that as well. So this technically could be SQLite, but I think when I was vibing, I sort of went with the minimum viable thing. I was not trying to architect a whole 'nother thing on top of tapes. I was just trying to give a sidecar to it. So yeah, basically that's it. Alpha DeepMind is basically a paper I built this around, which is like the self-healing evolution stuff. Definitely look it up. I don't have a ton of time to talk to that, but I will talk to that because Minimax has this built in. But um, yeah, a couple other things. I dropped a link, but what I ended up getting into is like sweeper agent. So Pokemon's cool, but like what if you could do the same thing what we do like lint fixes or with testing or etc. So it was really cool is I took those same paradigms and I was able to create separate Claude agent instances, which I found out last week in a blog post or a tweet from Claude, our Anthropic team, is that like this is exactly how sub agents are made, where you could actually spin over I think they're doing micro VMs, but basically you spin up a VM, it could run Claude as a sub agent, and it reports back very similar to observational memory. So, yeah. Anyway, what was wild is like I'm kind of basically just rebuilding Claude code features of this, but like this is the best way to learn. So yeah, so cool. I've got these like isolated VMs that are basically speed running lint fixes, and the way it worked is I was able to take my at the time, so I got 842 lint errors. I actually had about 1,000 of them got auto fixed through Quad, which is great. Or I guess 1,100 were auto fixed, but the 842 that weren't was able to spin up 5 parallel agents to basically fix that. So, yeah, I thought that was fun to basically apply that knowledge of playing Pokemon um, into something that's like actual actionable. And then the other thing I have in my repo is like these milestones. So the goal was, can I speed run to basically get to pick a Pokemon? So I pick Charmander. Can definitely get it within 50 turns, but this was an older um, this was an older sessions that basically was or sorry, these were sessions that were estimated. So basically, it would take 200 turns because the learning it wasn't established yet. But I guess what I'm getting at it like learned it, built it, put it out in the public, and then last Wednesday after I like did all this work, and this would have been like right before our stream, Carpathy ships this idea called auto research, which is essentially the Alpha Evolve experience. It's just a different flavor. Alpha Evolve is a little more intense than this, but this is auto research to basically do model training, train your agents. So all this to say is like the read is basically check out auto research because it's super lightweight. There's less cruft. There's like no Pokemon involved, and but it's essentially the same thing I've been doing. So what I wanted to do today is actually check out this new model, which is Minimax 2.7. And the thing about this is, and this launched last night, is it actually includes the auto research in the model. So they've got some benchmarks about approaching like Opus, which I want to say like I always have like skepticism about Opus and like these benchmarks. I could probably look in this more like closely. Um, but anyway, the auto research part, that's the new thing. A year ago with was it DeepThink? When this launched, it plays basically uh is it not DeepThink? What's the Chinese model that came out last year? DeepSeek. Yeah, so when DeepSeek came out last year, it completely changed the game because it had long context thinking. So now by default, if I were to ask Claude or Chat, Chat.com, ChatGPT, like I get thinking, extended thinking as part of like a feature. And that's what DeepSeek basically launched out the gate when they announced their sort of deep thinking or deep seeking. Uh, Anthropics got this by default. I'd say like Quinn models got it as well. So extended thinking is a thing that's just like a default for large foundational models. I anticipate that we're probably going to see more auto research and evolution type experiences within models as well. So this is the first of its kind. I always the first that I've seen. So I can't speak for um, other models or anything that not released, but I think it's actually really cool. I do want to try this out, so I think I'm gonna grab a Ghosty session and see if I can run this from Olama Cloud. So um, see how are we gonna do this? We're gonna grab this window, and then I'll just pipe this up. Cool. So let me switch screens real quick, and I'll render this, and we'll try it out. We'll see what it looks like, and then I'll pop off for the stream. Try to do the stream about an hour. Obviously, it's a little more awkward when it's just me. I'm just sort of rambling. I tend to talk faster when I have an audience that is not interacting. So we'll just go with that. So I actually have Olama here, and I've got a couple models, but I did see that Olama specifically has a cloud model. So I've never used a cloud model, but this is only on cloud. And I will have to figure out if I can leverage this. It does look like you could launch Claude with this, but let me run this and then we'll figure out some tests. Oop, I think I broke that. There we go. Not sure how I went to full screen. Cool browser to need to navigate. Just exposing. Oh, yep, it's never connected. And I'm hoping this is gonna be free tokens. Yeah, cool. I am on high. Cool. So like we'll probably figure out trying to test out the model. What are ways to uh do evolve? I guess what are ways I could try? Yeah, great having testing things out here. Evolve depending on what you're interested in, learning new skills, take courses, fine tuning. Cool. So I will. So tell me, what Pokemon is weak to fire? So my assumption is, I could probably get it to. Okay, I'm assuming you meant what Pokemon is weak to fire. Fire types grass. Okay, Venusaur, Scyther. Uh, excellent. These look like. Sorry, I'm a bit of a Pokemon nerd. So let me find a Pokemon Gen 3. Uh, so okay, we're gonna find Treco. Sorry, I'm like googling off screen to answer this question. Okay, is Trico weak to fire? Yeah, this is probably not a good example, but I could use the model. Yes, fire and ice. Yeah, I wonder how do you know this? Do you know this? I think there's like a better learning habit. Small. Okay, cool. What is your cutoff date? Can you make a Pokemon skill? Cool. All right. All right. Whoops. I totally lost that. Let me grab that screen again. I think so. I just wanted to try to see if we can get this thing live and working. So they have it set up. I actually set up Sweeper to use local models. So what I'm going to do is share my screen again, and I got 15 minutes. So let's stop that screen. Uh, let me share. Sorry, let me share the screen. I'll explain what I'm going to do, and I just want to see if I could get the. Here we go. So you gotta look at my Treecko lookup. So I got this repo, paper compute slash sweeper. And the way this works is sweeper is basically that Pokemon experience that I was talking about earlier. We could have like isolated VMs. And these are all clods, but I just shipped a feature that makes it work with Olama. So what I want to do is see if I can use the Minimax uh, model, specifically the cloud model. So let me grab this one. So Minimax Cloud, whatever this slug is. And I want to run it. I want to run Sweeper, but on the local models. And the reason for this is I if I could actually if I could run the local models through Olama, the one thing that I'll point out is like I ended up getting my Claude code blocked, suspended, but I got it unblocked yesterday, because I wrote a blog post. I actually cleaned up the code to not hit the rate limit so hard. So I do appreciate the Claude code, the Anthropic team for being so responsive. For little old me, like I'm just whoever. I'm just I'm just a lonely old B Dougie. Um, but I do want to run Sweeper using the Minimax to see if I can use a local model to basically go clean up a bunch of um, what am I trying to say? Clean up a bunch of uh, lint fixes. And I've got this other project that basically is a mess called Pull to Press. Funny enough, like this was a cool idea I had last summer. It's a way so you can just take your PRs and turn them into blog posts. So it looks like this. This is pretty much 100% like vibe coded. Yeah, it's 100%. Like I basically just trying to test GPT models and then figure out if I could. Back when vibe coding was getting super hot, what was the last spring when like the bolts and the lava bolts had been around for quite a bit. Basically, I'll just drop a PR, which PR 1379, and it generates a blog post. My thought is like all PR should be blog posts, like the way you think about them and how you write them. So like anybody can go in your historical record and find out what the story is. So it should be just as easy to take your blog post or take your PR and make a blog post. And I would say like the majority of the stuff that I did like last year, last summer, is yeah, like optimizing, bundle splitting, deep dive, reducing main bundle. Like this is definitely LM written, but basically reduced the main bundle by 82%. And it just goes through like how I did it. And mostly just for my own take. Like I just wanted to like figure out if I could keep learning, but also use vibe coding to basically learn what I've been doing. I went on an entire tear of like getting my entire page speed to 99 out of 100. So that's what that is. I have a bunch of blog posts around that. But the way I powered that is like just drop a PR here and then edit it to actually I edited to match my tone. But the thing that I did set up here is I created sample writing to get my tone right. So I had like a blog post I hand wrote that has my tone in it. I probably should add more of these, but I don't really use this project anymore. But let me go back to the command line and let's see if I can run Sweeper with a model that has auto research already built in. Because if that's the case, what I'd love to do is like be able to run this on my own metal, my own cloud. So if I go into what am I doing here? CD. It's always weird when I have to do stuff by hand. Um, paper. Oh no, pull the press. Cool. Pull the press and oh yeah, I already have something here as well. So what I usually do is YOLO. YOLO is basically a uh, it's an alias for me to run quad code with dangerously skip permissions. It also attaches tapes to it as well. So I have aliases so I don't have to remember all the flags to do. Um, can you run sweeper with Minimax Cloud as the Olama model? I doubt it is because I don't think I made it flexible enough to do this. So I might actually have to open up PR to make this work. And then the other thing I'll mention is Sweeper itself. It has a skill built in to understand how to build skills and how to run it. The goal is Sweeper itself is it's a quad code plugin. So not in the marketplace. You have to install it manually. But if anybody wants it in the marketplace, I can put it there. I want to give myself a bunch of overhead if no one cares. So just let me know if you care. And I'll put it up in the marketplace. Cool. Olama is running. Minimax is available. Let me run Sweeper with them. Cool. So it's actually testing. So because of the skill, it's got the quad code, it's got a Olama access. I can run quad code to essentially, and this is the whole plan, is like quad code is just a harness. It's funny how this entire conversation is like full circle, but quad code is the harness. The goal is I could spin up smaller models to do like small linting fixes. So like if I wanted to spin up a sweeper agent to basically go spin up some smaller super agents to do some menial task. What I've done so far is that like I've refactored my docs with it. I've cleaned up lint fixes. And those are only two things I've done. And now I'm testing lint fixes again with this. So it looks like it's running. Oh yeah, yeah, I did make it. I anticipated this. I'd want to actually use I want to have custom models be leveraged. So what's going to happen is like I've got 2000 lint errors. It's going to run through this. It's probably not as exciting to watch this. I think the one benefit of using the cloud version of local models instead of local, if I was running this local with Quinn 2.5 or 3, all my streaming would die because it would actually take up all my resources to run this. So that's the beauty of this. What's also cool about this is I do have 5 VMs that are spun up. Actually, it's doing planning right now. Running oh, no, it's running the linter. Yeah, so it's planning right now. So the sweeper agents haven't been deployed. It's planning on what it should be doing next. But I think it's, like, really important. This is how I actually run my OpenClaw. I've got, like I read a blog post where you can do progression of, like, what models you end up using. So I think I start with Opus, and then if I do some tasks that can be cut down to a smaller model, I switch it over to Kimi 2. And the reason for that is Kimi 2 at the time was free, for, like, the 2 weeks, but I've still been using it, so I guess what they got out of me, they're still getting, which is super nice for them, but, and then there's another one, I think the previous Minimax I was running on the free version as well. So I use the local models that are hosted in the cloud to essentially, like, keep the resources off my machine, but the menial tasks get handed off to a lower model, and I think there's a world where, like, you could use Opus for everything, but, eventually, the other shoe's gonna drop where we're gonna have to start, like, thinking about paying for this stuff, um, so, yeah, with that said, like, that's basically the demo. Sweeper Agent's gonna run. I'm gonna keep this going. If anybody's interested in trying this stuff, I'll probably drop a blog post on this. I will remind you that, yeah, actually, I do wanna it's gonna be slower because it's not Opus, so, not much resolution I can show on screen, and, this is actually work I do wanna have complete, so it's not gonna be something that I could speed up right now, but definitely something I'll speed up later. So yeah, going back to my ex, if you're interested in the Pokemon story, I've got that here, as a pinned tweet. I'll probably draw a, sweeper agent blog post up on Dev 2, since I have, like, essentially, like, a first version of the X article. I'm not really sure what to use X articles for, but I think for just, like, quick announcements or, like, sharing a open source repo I put together over the weekend, that's what I'm kinda looking forward to it for. But I want, like, a longer form, like, this is what I discovered type blog post, and, yeah, I've got my personal blog as well, but, like, yeah, I've kind of, like, been I have, like, no home I kind of just threw everything around everywhere because even with paper computer, I've been throwing stuff up in there. But with that said, this is going to be the end of the stream. I do appreciate everyone who who sat and watched with this. Um, Next week, John will be with me. I'll have my co-hosts as well, and we'll talk through some reads. For a reminder, Open Source Ready is a podcast hosted on the Heavy Bit Network. Would love for you guys to join us there. I'll ship a newsletter around this stuff as well, probably later today. So we have a Substack. Really just building a community, building an audience. So find us on Substack, find us on Dev2. We both independently write on Dev2, and then we also have our own socials. So yeah, appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next one. I think the exit is listeners stay ready, but I guess you're a watcher, your viewer.